We're working on the target reading and writing decimals. A lot of this should be somewhat review for you, but you're going to want paper. Take down some notes. Okay, so here are 3 examples of decimals, and I bet that all of us will say this one is 0.4, 5.205, and 10.07. We like to say that, but that is not the correct mathematical way of saying it. So we need to learn and talk about place values and to say these decimals right. So with the decimal place value, you're probably very familiar with the ones, tens, hundreds, thousands, 10,000s, and so on. Like if I told you to tell me what this number is, you could just say, oh, that's easy, that's 24,851. But the biggest things that we need to talk about are to the right of the decimal. So to the right of our decimal we have tenths, hundredths, thousandths, 10,000ths, and it actually goes on farther, but we're just going to stop there. So if I do my first decimal, let's say it the wrong way, that's fun, 0.46. The correct way to say this, when you're looking at your chart, you can fill this number in, 0.46. The biggest thing you need to look at is what is the last digit, what place value is that. So when you look at what place value the 6 is, it's in the hundredths. So we need to say 46 hundredths. That would be how we would write this. Now part of what you are going to be expected to do is to write it out in words, and we do expect that you spell things right. So kind of what I remember is it's the word hundred, and then you just add THS. So this decimal is 46 hundredths. Let's try this one. Wrong way, but super easy. 14 point, I'll fix that 8. 14.085. If we say it the correct way, first thing you want to look at, this decimal right here, you need to say the word and when you come to the decimal. Next thing I look at is the last digit is in what place value. If you look at your chart, there's 1, 2, 3, so 1, 2, 3. We're going to say this thousandths when we get to the end. Let's write our number into the chart here. 14, and then there's decimal. So the correct way to say this is 14 and 85 thousandths. If we were to write this down, now this is kind of always a pain in the butt to write all these words down, but you got to be able to do it. 14 and 85 thousandths, right? Make sure you spell it right. Oops, I spelled it wrong. Thousandths. I write the word thousand, and then I add THS. 14 and 85 thousandths. Okay, next one. Let's give you a really long one. These are fun. There we go. Alright, so some of you don't even need to use the chart. You can just say it out loud right away. If you do, why don't you type it in there? Or write it in there. So the first thing I'm looking at is the last number is in the 10 thousandths. So that's the last thing I'm going to say or write is 10 thousandths. And then I can just say this whole number. That whole number is 1,500. Holy cow, this is a really long one. 568. And then for the last thing, what place value is this? 10 thousandths. That's the correct way you would write that word and say it. Let's do one more. Try this one. To say this, 8, remember the decimal, we say the word and then the only number over here is 3. 3 what? What place value is this? So 8 and 3 thousandths. So to write this, please write it down. 8 and 3 thousandths. Again, check that spelling that you have the THS. All right, now what you're going to see a lot from us are these tables where you have to go back and forth. So, for example, this one here, you have words, you need to tell me what it is as a decimal. So, if I think 24 and 32 hundredths, first thing I recognize is that and, so I know this is going to be where my decimal goes. Before the decimal goes 24. So 24 and 32 hundredths. So right away I think tenths, hundredths. It must end right there. So 32 fits in right here. So there's my decimal. Now for my fraction, anything before the decimal is always your whole number. Anything after is a fraction. So this one, you say it out loud and you've got it. 32 hundredths. 32 hundredths. Now, can you simplify that? Yes, but we're not going to do that right now just to save some time. But do know that you're going to want to simplify all of your fractions. Okay, now I have a decimal, and you need to write the words. So the first thing that I'm going to look at is my place value. So I have tenths, hundredths, thousandths, 10 thousandths. So right away, it's going to end with 10 thousandths. This number right here is 72. So I would say 72 10 thousandths. My fraction would be, just say it out loud and you got it, 72 10 thousandths. It would look like that. And you can definitely simplify that. They're both even. Next one down here, I gave you the fraction. In this case, it's a mixed number. So remember that whole number is always to the left of the decimal. So 5 and 9 tenths. Tenths ends right there. So 5 and 9 tenths would look like that. And then the words would just be 5 and 9 tenths. Last one is another decimal. So whole number is 4. My fraction is 35. Ends right there. So 35 hundredths. And again, over here you'd write 4 and 35 hundredths. I'm taking a break because if I wrote really small, you wouldn't be able to read it. All right, so at the end, I said you were going to come back to these numbers. So on your paper, you need to write these down the correct way. And I'm not saying 0.4. Don't write that. That's not right. And then you're going to show us what you wrote down on your paper tomorrow in class. So write down what these three mean. Pause the video, otherwise it's going to be stopping. So have a fantastic day. See you later. Get these decimals stuck in your head. All right, bye-bye.